Facebook.
Yeah, we're live. You have your chat up and the chat for all the people that is gonna see today.
I think so. It takes a little bit um, to update
Yeah,
during it too. So
we are live. And I want to say thank you to all the people who's here. Hello. We are back again. And today there's some I believe it's a little bit the darkness we're gonna talk about. It's the dark night of the soul. And it was actually you that suggested that subject. And I bet you have a reason for that, right?
yeah, well, first of all, hello to everybody. It's 333, and this is when
Beautiful.
33. You know that the number 33 has been following me a lot. I know that's
Really?
all Masonic, but
No, it's
numbers,
not platonic actually.
you know,
It's not. It's divine. It's like the Kundalini number of your spine. You have 33 vertebrae, so it's like the awakening is waiting for you.
that's right. That's where the Freemason.
Why they have it because they know the purity of that number.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's been following me. I don't know. Maybe I'll
Awesome.
awaken my Kundalini. And it's 3:30 where we had the schedule. Uh, what's it called? Podcast. So anyhow, yeah. So this is something that even in myself, like I don't talk about it too much. How we go through these processes of I used to call it a roller coaster of life. You go down, you go up, you go down, and you up. But holy crap, man, this last 2 weeks for me, I don't know anybody watching right now. Please share because I don't want to feel like I'm going crazy myself. But no, it's been very trying, for me to go for this past June itself has been hell. I
Right.
mean, we're talking about numbers. I don't know if June being 6 has anything to do with it. I'm not that big on numerology, but my God. So yeah, just in retrospect, and I think this is the last podcast of the month. Yes, for us. uh, June started kind of like cringy. The end of the first week, I got hit. The next one was like a huge blow for me. I don't want to, share too much personal stuff, but it was a huge personal blow for me. And then last week and this week, oh God. So it's been so hard for me that I started thinking like I've never had to apply so much and so often and live, this down moments of recuperating from what we call the dark night of the soul because we decide to go through them. It's not like they come and you have to go through them. Some of them are forced, yes, but in my experience, it's been a choice always,
Mhm.
and that's why I wanted to like share this topic today because I mean even myself who try to live this spiritual perspective of life, it's been like, my God, I need to fix a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's why I wanted to share. And we'll probably talk about the tools of what you use, what I use, and our methods. What actually is the dark night of the soul?
Yeah.
What is this programming that we know we have, karma, and everything around it. So let's kick this off. And
Let's
I don't know. Tell me how you've been. If you had, how you've been okay? Is June like feeding you and leeching out of me?
actually June has been amazing. I have gone through a little bit dark night of the soul, but I would not say that it has been as you have experienced. I have been more been informed with some goodies, so I feel that like June have set me on fire. I haven't had the same experience as you, but I think I don't know. It's beautiful that we have two different experiences, and I'm pretty sure that you're not the only one here in this world right now that has gone through some pretty tough stuff. Because June has been a massive purge of ego and a massive purge of polarities and duality, and this split. Like we have purged a lot collectively, with the riots, the drama. We haven't touched each other for like months because of the social distancing. I mean, like the human skin and everything is like it's coming to a point where I don't know, it's shaky inside. I will say that the ground
Yeah.
is shaking, and the soul wants to break out.
And it's interesting that you say that, how it's the ego cleansing, because that's how I see it. Well, obviously, like there's so much that goes into that. And I always
Yeah,
explain, like, man, I mean, you have to, like we said in the description, you either, choose to do the work or you carry it with you. And that's how
yeah,
I feel. Because I have this notion, whenever they come in, it's almost like, do I really want to face this now? And then you think about it like, okay, if I don't face it now, it's going to come again through another person, through another situation. Let me just
yeah,
do it now, and that's why, it's like you have to be a warrior for this
yeah,
mentally. And, I'm not being, taking credit. I'm taking credit for what I've done, but Jesus, I mean, sometimes it's really tough, but
yeah,
it's that. And I tell you, like, the hardest thing for me, and I'm sure for anybody listening, uh, is that you need to recognize yourself in that darkness, first of all, and say, yes, I am this terrible person that, does this, or I'm a confused soul, or, I've been taken advantage, or anything, you have to recognize that, and it's not comfortable. But once you do that, you have to find a positive way, a loving way to deal with that, and
yeah,
how to embrace it and all of that. So
yeah,
that's why, it's like so hard for the ego to be cleansed over time, because ego work is admitting that you are not who you believe you are, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, here I am right now, stable enough, to have this podcast and talk about things. But, I carry a lot of stuff that I need to clean,
yeah,
and I'm not aware of them yet. So the situations that come to your life through, events or people, they're coming here as mirrors to tell you, hey, you need to resolve this. See, like, and they'll piss you off, they'll make you cry, they'll, make you depressed or anxious, and you have to recognize them, and try to find the love in it. And that's the challenging part.
yeah,
But like I said, and this is how I usually depict it, to my clients and people that I talk to. It's like you are this pillar of light. You are a beacon of light, and you are all muddled up and murky with the ego, right? So it's like you have all this crap around you, and you can also visualize it like a pillar of light and a pillar of shadows. So the more you clean this, the more you can shine. So it's always, the reason why I'm saying this is because there's always a reward in the end.
yeah,
And I kid you not. I mean, this is it. We were talking about it before we started the podcast. It comes. It allows you to go through that crappy place, but then when you do the work, you get rewarded, and
yeah,
it's amazing. Not only an internal feeling, but external influences too that tell you, like, it's going to be okay. No worries.
yeah.
It's been
But
tough.
there is a trickster in that process because often our reptile brain will tell us that this feeling is forever. Like we have this nagging little reptile brain, which is the control of all these things, that it will tell us in the moment we feel like shit that this will last forever, and we have this feeling of, oh, this will just, I will never get out of this. So we create stories against it, we get attached to it, we go into it, instead of just knowing that this is a bypass of an emotion and it's just another wall closer to heart, soul, to get through in order to get the more out of life and your own human potential that you can. So whenever you go through this dark night of the soul or these really hard feelings that we can have in this moment of time, because we need to be purged out. It's so important to remember that this little trickster is saying that it will be forever, but it will not be forever. It will change, and there is light on the other side of the darkness, because that's how it works. So we need the darkness to let the light shine, and we need the light to let the darkness be there too. So it's like they need to work together, or else we are not getting everything out of our life, which is sad.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that because I think that has to do with the perception of time and life. Because think about it, life is a linear process in our illusion, right?
Yeah.
In this construct. So as we go through it, depending on the events and how we perceive them as positive or negative,
Mm-hmm.
they slow or speed up your perception of time. We know the classic example of when you fall in love and you're with that person, hours can go by. This could go with music or whatever. It could be anything that just dissolves your reality and allows you to flow with your full essence, right?
Yeah.
But the opposite is also true, and that's, I think, what you're talking about. That that trickster that you're talking about is what slows down your time to a standstill sometimes, because the only thing running in your head is not only a situation, but a false situation, a
Yeah.
negative situation, because anything negative is false. It's
Yeah.
not coming from you. It's coming from the ego. It's coming from the fake perception of who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And that to me shows why we have this feeling that's going to be forever. Like we're
Yeah.
never going to solve this. It's going to be the worst thing. It's going to ruin my life. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. And it's okay to know this. It's not. I don't think it's a healthy thing, and I think you can expand that.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy thing to hide it and say, no, everything's going to be okay, okay. I mean, as a background is fine, but that will prevent you from going deeper,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that has happened throughout generations now, where we stop at a certain, I call them plateau. There is some sort of plateaus that people choose to go through, and there is some kind of plateau that people choose to stay on, and then they say, oh, here and not further. And they are missing out of the last plateau because of the uncomfortable feeling they get when they're moving up. So they're just staying here, which a lot of people have done in generations now. Like the majority of people have chosen to stay in the safety zone. So like that's also what we see right now, is that people like people is purging. And I think we all go through this dark night of the soul right now, because it's so necessary in order to expand this and know that there is something much better on the other side. And we need to move up in plateaus in order to stay connected to this beautiful planet, or else it will crash. So I think this expansion of knowing it's not forever, knowing that it's gonna be good, knowing that this is good, what is happening now, right now, and inviting this darkness and the dark soul into it is like so beautiful. I love it. I wrote about it on my Facebook today, actually. I said it was a huge gangbang of measurement of ego and a huge orgy of polarities that is just like, and we're just throwing out with identification, me, you suppress me, I suppress you, blah blah blah. And it's like so much, and it's so good. It's purging the soul so we can move on. We are recognizing the ego right now, maybe not consciously, but we are really doing that by letting all these things out and letting our identification out and our attachment to this I or should or have or me versus you. I love it.
Yeah. That's something also that I've been noticing, that as people who work on this constantly, and we're kind of like dedicated to this just because it's such a rewarding thing to see in ourselves personally and individually. um you think that at times it's too rough, but then whatever you do, always has an impact in your surroundings, whether that be a negative reaction or a positive one.
Yeah.
And you live in this environment. Like you don't shit where you eat, right? So it's the same idea in our planet. And I tell you, like that's something that, because sometimes in some situations you sit and say, like, okay, so I'm going to go through this, but what's how do I do it, and what's going to be the benefit? And just knowing that you're doing something for the collective as well. I mean, that's one thing that got me really going this past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is that it's not just for myself, but also for the collective, because you perpetuate those things.
Yeah.
You keep reinforcing the same ideas, the same thoughts, the same emotions. And if you react, with negativity, even if it comes from all possible ways, it's you're not doing yourself a favor and people around you, or even the people that you're reacting with. And not that I was like that in the past, but it's sometimes you get like really tempted to just be evil, evil, to do things that are against you because they're so enticing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get into situations where, but how do you deal with that personally? Like, what tools do you use? And I'll share mine too. So I want to hear yours in general, like that, just dealing with a situation that you feel like you just, that darkness is coming out of you, and you just want to like smack it in the face of somebody, or just take the decision that is just feels like wrong but feels good.
Yeah, I feel you. I have made a lot of practical things around this topic because I have a huge temper. I used to have a huge temper, and I was very outrageous on people. So in my past, I created conflicts. I went online and I got into a conflict, commenting on something. I was putting it out, like I was not taking the responsibility of my own feelings, and I was projecting it out on other people or trying to create a conflict. But what I've learned with this anger that I have inside of me, and also this just this feeling of just wanting to do something really bad, or I create a space for it where I sit with myself and I put a pillow in front of me, and I talk with the pillow and I say, look, need to have this out of me. And then I put some music on and I create a space for maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour. And I just purge. I just scream. I smash the pillow. Sometimes I throw it into the wall. I scream at it at all bad words. I'm just like letting myself out, like everything. And like after, when the clock is ringing, the energy field inside of me is so amazing. I can remember the first time I did it, I actually purged real, because there was so much shit inside of me that I
Wow.
just was sitting with, and I was just sitting with my thoughts and was like, oh, it's so sad for me. Oh, I feel so bad, instead of moving it. And when I started to move that energy and I started to recognize it and I started to purge it out, it was just a complete other feeling, and I was vibrating like like really high after. So this allowance of just letting it out is just pure precious treasure right now in this time, because then we don't let it out on each other, we don't let it out on our city and destroy things. We let it out in a space where we consciously go in. And I think it's super important to have that practice in your everyday life, especially in this time, because we have been suppressed, we have been treated like shit, we are under control. How do you deal with it? Do you want to be the victim for it? Or do you want to take your own control and purge your shit out so you're stronger when the world needs you? And that's really what this practice has done to me.
That's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't,
it's
like I was
working.
telling
And
you.
I can really, people who see this, please take this practice into your that life. It will change a lot of things just to let it out.
Yeah.
makes you stay stronger. Also in the internet, when you want to write on someone's post, or you want to make yourself into a victim of this agenda, just let it go, and let it go with yourself, so you stand stronger in your authenticity in the world.
There's so much to go through. And like we were talking about before, it has to also depend on the person, and what it's how you express that anger, is it's really, or that sadness too. Because I'll confess, like I've been suppressing my sadness for a long time. That was just how I was raised.
Yeah,
And crying was not an easy thing for me, and it still isn't. A lot better now. I can cry easily in front of whoever, easier than before. But that's the thing, like you were saying, we have been repressed so much, and the hardest thing is also recognizing it. Like
yeah,
recognizing that you have been repressing something, and you create this wall, and admitting that something has been, or somebody or something did wrong to you,
yeah,
which it comes down to our childhood most of the time, that creates this subconscious behavior. But it's I think that's the hardest thing, in general, just to admit that, especially when it comes to family, and or loved ones. I've seen some really hard people, that won't admit what their family have done to them. And on the other side, people who are sensitive to just like release that find it the easiest, to release it. So it's
yeah,
what I'm trying to say here is that it's a I don't know how hard it may be for somebody, but it's really rewarding to just admit what's going on in your life that has to do with, something that happened to you, which again, it wasn't your fault, and there's nothing wrong, with admitting that. And that makes a huge release, just to know. And then you can attack it, like you said, depending on which method you have to release whatever it is, the anxiety, the trauma, the phobia, the anger, the sadness, the whatever it is,
yeah.
and that's holding us back so much, man. I feel like, we don't do enough of this.
We
And
don't, we
I
don't.
know there's, you know what, I know that this also has to do with your higher self and how he programs things for you. Sometimes it's just like, dude, give me a break. Like I know I've been getting stronger at this, but give me a small break here, man. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like, I know it has to do with that. So depending
yeah,
on where you are right now, always trust that your higher self is giving you, that,
for
um,
sure. It does. And I
that
think, can I add something to what you just said before?
needs.
Because I actually think it's important in this practice, if anybody's listening to this, and want to take it in, to first of all, there we always put stories to, our feelings, our emotions. We always have a story to it. So first of all, when we start this practice, or when I start this practice, I purge out the story, because I don't want to have the story attached to my emotions. And then after, I start to move the emotions. So first the story, let go of the story, and then figure out what is the emotions without the story, because then you can move on, because you don't get stuck in, feelings shouldn't have a story, but we are so attached to have that. So telling that story first, and then go into the rage, the purging, the moving of the body, and then move away from that feeling, is priceless. So thank you for saying, like, there is a story to it, and we all is stuck in the stories of our life, and especially our childhood. So letting go of that story to the childhood, and know that you are the responsible for your life right now, and nobody else can change that, only you, is like really precious when you let go of that, um, yeah, that attachment to that story.
Yeah,
of
that's
who hurted you, what hurted you, did your mom hit you, did your dad leave you, all these stories we have, but we need to let them go because we're adults now, and we need to move forward, and you do that by letting go of the story and going into the emotions of the story, and then go into the motion from the emotions. It's all in the words.
that's exactly how the human experience, especially right now, is supposed to go. Like
Mhm.
you, when somebody is, an ascended master or an enlightened person, what you realize is that they have no emotional baggage for anything in their life. They have nothing. It's not that they're perfect, or I don't know. It really is that simple. They have no invested emotions in their past, and they
No.
have no emotions also in their future. So whatever happens, that's where you need to have faith, for the
Yeah.
future. Always have faith and accept. Gratitude is the biggest thing here too, because whatever it is that comes, if it makes you feel good, you're naturally inclined to be, grateful for it. But if it's
Yeah.
not, it's negative, in our present perceptional space time, then we feel like, oh, how can I be grateful for that? But you have to see it as a lesson,
Yeah.
and as part of the story that is releasing something from you, or a mirror that's showing what you need to fix. So gratitude is huge, but that definitely, and especially what you're saying is recollecting those memories, or admitting, or even realizing that something in the past. And here's where the work really, comes to, because you have to you have to first recognize, then admit, and then work something in your past.
Hmm.
And with that in mind is that you start then releasing the emotions, like you're saying, because there is an emotional attachment there to something that happened,
Yeah.
and you're still, recirculating it. It's what we call trapped emotions. So after that, then you start, releasing the emotion, like you said, and then comes the other part, which is, what kind of blockage do you have to release those emotions?
Yeah.
Crying, not expressing your anger, and so on. So that's the biggest part, in general.
It is just letting go of the child too, right?
Mm, big deal. Yeah,
Letting go of the child. We
yeah,
are in the process of letting go of the child. But yeah, we can go into this. This is a deep subject. First of all, like I want to see, is there anybody who have commenting on this or any questions? Because this is a very vulnerable subject that we're going into right now.
yeah. I would love to see some questions.
Yeah.
Come on, we have 9 people. That's my number. Yeah,
Wow. Stage 9, number 9, divine 9.
love it. Yeah, Nana says doing the work. Hi, Emmeline.
Hi.
And Yusuf says we are here to grow. You know, that's it.
It's
That's
true.
that's the
It's
thing.
so,
This is the most conducive thing for spiritual growth. We are
yeah.
here incarnated because we are in a process of spiritual growth.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we didn't come here, to enjoy life and, have a car and have, experiences and houses and this whole material stuff.
Nope.
Like material stuff is, it's
Education, job.
even the body, like this is something now that we're sharing some of the cool things that we do when we get these emotions, the states rather, emotional states, is that I I sat down and I deconstruct myself. This is something that I do often because when I regress or back engineer, reverse engineer my situation, I realize that, say, I'm worrying about an external situation of which
Yeah.
I have no control.
Yeah.
It's part of my perceived reality. Then I go back to what is affecting me. Then I analyze it and I say, okay, it's affecting me as a person, and it has to do with my identity. And my identity is attached to the ego. The ego is the only one that's hurt. Then I say, okay, so I'm not my identity, I'm not the ego. Who am I? I'm a body. But then I realize, all right, this body is borrowed. I've had other bodies, in my past lives. And
Lots.
then I say, okay, so it's my soul. What is my soul doing here? It's learning. That's all it's doing. Learning for
Yeah.
growth. So then when I get to that point, I can just perceive everything from, the single point of consciousness that I am. And from there, I just kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's like a meditative process where you just narrow it down to like, the least material stuff, and then just go from there. And when you expand this, it just feels like, wow, nothing really matters actually. So, I just need to let go of it.
Exactly. And that's so liberating.
Beautiful.
Such a liberating state. When you just figure out that your only purpose is to grow, and that all the external things of work, education, I should just say, it's just like all the obligation that we have put on ourselves is not really real. The only purpose of our life is to grow. And that is like the most, for me, I can say, is the most liberating feeling that I've ever experienced. And I remember that every time I go into the dark night of the soul, it's like, you're here to grow, Simone. You're here to grow. You're here to grow. So you got to go through it.
Yeah. And that's
beautiful.
Eventually, that's the thing. When you let go of all the material stuff, when you let go of your body, when you let go of, your feelings about a specific situation or person, and just at that point is where you begin to realize that the only purpose here is just, to just almost like you have been programmed to live certain catalysts, as we call them. And from there, it's almost like your curriculum, like what you came here to study. If you avoid it, then you have to study it later, but there's no workaround. So accepting it and allowing it to flow, for the negative things. But the beautiful part is not like, it seems bleak when we say it this way, it's the reward. Let's talk about the rewards, like, how do you feel like the system works for you personally? Like you go through the process, it goes, shitty, you feel all these emotions, you come out. How does that, like, the universe responds to you? And what kind of reward process do you get?
I will not say I'm getting rewarded, but it's internal feeling of getting closer to my core, which is automatically allowing myself more life, and allowing more life coming into me, which is super rewarding to feel this aliveness of living out my authenticity. I mean, if I need to, how you say that, compared to my old me and now, like, I had no life flowing through me. I was like, I was very empty. I was like a wall. Nothing was flowing through me. And this reward of letting things flow more and letting life in and saying yes to life like that is, I think that's the reward of doing it. It's the aliveness of it, because it feels so alive.
You feel like the changes that happen, and this is actually a pretty good way to see it, I believe. The changes that happen in your life. You know how some people say, like, well, I had to adapt to this. I had no other choice. I had to be, I had to become, what I am now. And it's almost like it was forced on them, and they feel kind of bad that they had to. I think all those changes are to tell you where you have to be, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you have to embrace it and accept it and just go with it, and always doing, what you think is right. But you also get that feeling.
Yeah.
Especially after a situation like this, or a moment, a dark night of the soul. I feel that when I get to, to the end of it, actually, I'll give you a deeper example, because this had to do with a ceremony where I had, like, it was over in a heroic dose on magic mushrooms. and it was so transformative. The funny thing is that the next week I felt like I wasn't myself, like something in me had changed and I couldn't recognize it. Like I couldn't recognize myself at the moment compared to who I was, like you were saying, right? But it felt good. And when I'm telling you that one of the things that this night took away from me was like part of my core of what I was, I felt a little lost. You know that feeling where you're coming out of, a psychedelic experience ceremony where you get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And you were looking at everything like, wait, who am I then? Questioning everything. And then you get into reflections and you look at yourself and you're not the same person, but you feel better somehow. So in the same way, I feel like every time I overcome one of these things, I feel a lot more empowered. But I tell my wife all the time that I feel like, I don't know what the word in English is, but it's like when you drink a lot of alcohol and the next day you feel all like messed up. Hangover, yes. So it's, I feel like a hangover. It could be on normal days, no psychedelics or anything. Just like these past weeks, I felt so hangover. That's funny. So that to me is that point of realizing that the change that happened in you made you the person that you need to be. It's almost like shedding, skins and layers that you had to. And when you look at it, you should always be grateful for that. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course. It's like the best feeling. That's why we're here. We just haven't totally got it yet. We think we're here for so many other things, but that's precisely why we're here. And other things is just doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Is there more? You said there were 9. You only got 3. I only got 3.
Only 3. Joseph says something. He says, we have to heal the inner child so we can move on, which is right on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Joseph? Is that? I don't know, man. I'm bad at names. Right. So.
Joseph.
But yeah, I'm going to share something. Speaking of psychedelics and, ceremony experience and inner child, I had a this is probably off topic, but still I want to share it. I had a very weird experience. And now that we know more about time space and, how we can, through consciousness, we can visit and change the, our, I don't want to say the timeline, but our perception of time. And even though this example I'm going to give, or this story, this experience is kind of heavy, even for me to swallow. Now, it kind of makes sense. All right, I'm not making sense. Let me tell the story. So when I was a kid, I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. I was living in an apartment with, my family, an apartment being like a building, it wasn't a house. So we had a balcony, right, in the apartment of the building. And I was sleeping there all by myself because I used to watch TV there. I woke up in the middle of the night and I turned around, as you always do, like just turn around. And I saw this human shape, like a ghostly shape, but it was human. And it was all dressed in white, like bright white. And it was like reclined against the couch. And it was definitely facing me. I freaked out, of course. I was a Catholic kid who didn't know anything about this. I wasn't raised, with spiritual understanding of any kind aside from, the Bible, God, Catholics. So I freaked out, and I remember like praying and just like staying there for the rest of the night, awake, but freaking out. I don't know. In the morning, I kind of like turned around and it was gone, and I went to my bedroom. It was kind of like a very scary night. But this was when I was like 9 and 10. I did ayahuasca, my first ayahuasca ceremony. And I went through a lot of visions. And there was a point where I was traveling through these several visions. and I was seeing things, and all of a sudden I just got to that point, that experience, but I was looking at myself from the perspective of, the person standing looking at the child, and I saw myself roll over and, start like freaking out or scared. And all I did was just go and embrace him and tell him like it was going to be okay, like everything's going to be okay. Getting goosebumps just remembering this.
Wow.
And it was, I don't I know that the message that I got was that I needed to heal my inner child for the things that happened. Um, that's the end of the vision. What's funny is that, in ceremonies you dress all white. I didn't realize until the next day when I made the connection, and I was like, I looked at myself when I was telling, my wife the story and all the people around it, and I'm like, I'm all dressed in white. Like I feel like I almost like puncture, space time, and I went back, but at the same time I was there. Like it was just so weird. But it reminded me of that. Like how from that point is when I started like healing my child. I had, a lot of issues, and I started like visiting that because you suppress it. You say
Yeah.
like, that's over. I'm
Yeah.
an adult already. I don't need to deal with that. Like what we are saying internally is like I created a coping mechanism so I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying inside. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I think that like the first step of this whole awakening, or what you want to call it, is really to heal your own child and let go of it, because the way we have related to each other, the way we have loved each other, hated each other, needed each other, has been from a wounded child. So I really think that what we need to do now is really heal that child, say to ourselves, we're safe, we're loved, and move on from that, because we're adult now, and we need to take the responsibility for ourselves now and love that little child, so it's not knocking on the door every single day that you are being triggered by something. And yeah, and admit that you're adult now and everything. I had this weird thing that I always gave my mom the fault of me being sad, or me being feeling lonely, or me not feeling loved. It was my mom's fault because she left me. All these stories. But when I let go, or I was let go of that for some years ago, and I said to myself, everything right now in your life is your fault, Simona. Something changed in me, because I realized that if everything in my life is my fault, I can heal it. I can do it. So I took that little child and I gave it a big hug and I said, you're loved and I love you. And I'm sorry you've been through all these things, but let's move on, because being relating in this wounded child is not healthy for any of us, and that's really what we have been doing. We've been living in that survival state of mind of the little child that needed to survive some kind of thing in the childhood, and we all have been through it, and we all need to let go of it in order to move on. But I really think that this time is supporting it, and that's a part of the dark side night of the soul too, to let go of the child,
Yeah.
to let go of the child and love the child.
That's such a beautiful um, practice. I don't think anything comes closer to that. When I started, like you said, and really feeling it, just think about it. And I tell people to, oh my God, yes, I've had emotional moments, with people very recently too. And they go back to their child and they start dealing with that, and they say like, how can I forgive this? When I was a child, I was abused. I was placed in situations where I should not have been. And they, without knowing it, they're judging it. They're
Yeah,
judging the situation.
yeah,
And I say like, this is the deal breaker for a lot of people. They either can do it or can't. If they
yeah,
can't, it's really hard for them to heal their child. Is to, I'll share this with the people listening. Talk to your child like if you were talking to a little son that you may have or daughter, or even a little kid, doesn't have to be your child, just a little kid that comes to you in distress, and he or she explains that situation. What would you tell them? What would you, are you going to say the same things as you tell yourself? Because
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. You're going to your child and telling it, you are guilty of this, or you are, a victim of this, or you did this wrong, or this happened to you and not for you. In any case, like, you're not looking at the positive side, and that's the thing. So going back to your child and talking to it like it was a different child, and then, man, it's no more beautiful feeling than hugging yourself as a child. Come on, there's
I know.
nothing more like it, there's no way. I mean, you can get closer, and it's all done here. It's just, I used to drive with like my little, me next to me. Come on, there's nothing better than that.
So
There's nothing.
cute.
And I have a son. I mean, he's awesome, but to like have that wounded child, because people that you have, you can always like work with, but you never think about yourself as a child. So it really is a good practice, because when was the last time you did that? How often do we do it? You have to really go there, and that's where the beauty and the love really comes from. And once you realize, because when you do it so like intently, there's a point where you realize, like, man, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about, I was that, and I'm still that. Inside, you still are, because I keep saying it. We adults are children that pretend to be something else.
Yes.
Inside, you know what? I want to play. I want to do stupid things. Like, I'm curious. I don't want to stick metal things in the outlets anymore. But I'm still curious. Like, this is who I am. But I need to pretend. I need to be formal. I need to, wear clothes. I need to just behave in certain societal patterns. I don't wear clothes all the time, just for the podcast.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yes, and you're welcome for that. So,
but the most beautiful thing is you really figure out, or you find out, that when you go into that child, it is not hateful. It is not. It is not angry. It don't want to kill anybody. It's not. It's actually just sad. It just wants to be seen. So all these evil things that we have been put on ourselves, and these disappointment and jealousy and power and whatever, the little child don't want that. And when you realize that your little child is not that evil that you make yourself into be, it just wants love. You realize that all you need to do, and all you are, and all this little child is and has always been, is just love.
Yeah, I tell you this. So, and at times, this happens a lot with my clients, that we get to the point of, we analyze, an experience, and once we get there, for us, doing the work, it's simple, because you see it as a regular event. Sometimes they're really rough, but oftentimes it's just like, it wasn't that bad if you think about it. Like, now as an adult, with everything that you have been through, now that the reality that we're living, and you're more, apply this knowledge that you have now to the child. Apply that to him, because you are him or her. And that's, I think, where a lot of breakthroughs happen, because people stop thinking and feeling as the child, and start thinking as the mature human that they became, and then the emotions are either drained, or they're substituted with understanding, which is the key thing. Understanding the situation. So that's a beautiful part.
It's
Man.
really deep.
Huh?
It's really deep.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I love the.
Yeah, I can feel that. It's beautiful.
We are just pretenders. Big pretenders too.
Yeah, I know. We are.
And the more you get used to that, is the more you kind of get um, away from your essence of who you are. A lot of this rediscovering who you are has to do with your child. And I think one of the biggest rewards, as I like to call them, because you are being rewarded
Mm-hmm.
for releasing things that you are not, is that you start uncovering and rediscovering your inner child. You know, all you want to be and do as an adult is that inner child.
Yeah.
And I'll give you, like, the thing is passion. What are you passionate about? You're always I've never seen anybody who became, unless it can get tricky, but they're always attached to what they wanted to do as a child.
Yeah.
So the reward is that once you deal more with that part of you, you start realizing as a reflection who you really want to be. And like, to me, the discovery was like, I love to philosophize as a kid. I love to read things and explain it to people. I love Bible stories, news, anything. I loved that as a kid. I started reading the newspaper, I think, when I was like really young. I don't even know, like 4 years, 5 years old. And I started like reading things and showing that I knew how to read and explain what I read. And this is who I really want to be. This is why I'm doing this podcast. This is why I create my YouTube content, and why I write and I express myself. So it's something that you keep rediscovering, and you also feel at the moment that you have been suppressing this for a long time because you feel embarrassed or unworthy or anything that just
Yeah.
prevents you from doing the things that you love doing and the things that make you like really passionate. So I think that's the biggest reward for me of doing this kind of work, is that you start letting out more of your essence,
Yeah.
and really has to do with just finding those key things that you love doing as a child. And of course you need to work all the resistance that you may have, but that's been the most
It's
beautiful thing for me.
conditioning. It's just
Huh?
conditioning. It's just conditioning what regards what we've been through.
Yes.
I mean, when I was a child, I thought I could be an astronaut or I could be Britney Spears. I mean, I could be everything. There was no filter. And then I got into school. They raised me, put me into more books, more books, more books. And suddenly I lost my dreams and I lost my drive and I lost my fantasy about I could do everything because I needed to be realistic. But the realistic part is, funny enough, the opposite, because we actually can do all the things that our child want to do.
Yeah, now more than ever too, since we
Yeah,
have
sure.
these
Now, for
in
sure.
streaming energies from
Yeah.
the universe. How
There are
do you
more.
feel?
What?
Let's start wrapping up with some good perception of where we're heading. What is this new streaming energies that we're going through, which again are causing the friction? I know that this is the reason that we're feeling all this friction with our personalities and our lives, is because we need to be purged from all
Yeah,
this.
for sure.
Um, but there's a good amount of light at the end of this tunnel. So
Yeah.
with that in mind, how do you feel this year is going to be in the next couple of months? Yeah.
I think it's a tough question to answer because some part of me wants to know what is going to happen. Some part of me wants to know where are we going, what is the end of this, is there a light on the end, in the end of the tunnel, and all these attachments that I have to this need of knowing, which actually breaks me out of my process of going through, because maybe it's not so important what is going to happen, but more what is happening right now with me and which challenges am I standing in right now. Um, I don't know, process. I think it's an up and down time right now. I think
Yeah.
everything can happen, and I don't really care what is going to happen. It's not important for me. It's not important if there's light in the end of the tunnel, if there's dark in the end of the tunnel, if there is a rainbow in the end of the tunnel, if I'm like falling in a shit in the end of the tunnel. I don't care. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to figure out what's in the end of the tunnel. I'm here to figure out myself, wrap myself out of all kind of conditioning that I have towards people, towards my system, towards this agenda that is right now, right here, and to just spread my wings and be the power in the world that like I see myself to be. So that is my main focus. Like everything else doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want. Doesn't matter. And I think we talked about this before.
Yeah. No, and I that's the right attitude, I believe. Not really caring, but not in the sense that you don't care.
No, I care. I care so much
I,
that I dedicated my life to this. I mean, I could go out with my friends and do all the normal stuff, go to cafe, just pretend that everything is cool, like getting an education, getting a job. But I don't want to do that. I dedicated my life to be fully me and to contribute to the world as I do right now, and I will keep doing that, which is why I care. I care too much, maybe. Sometimes some people say I care too much. Not about
well,
focus process.
well, that's the thing. I mean, people who think you work too much is because they don't like working that much. People who would say you care too much is because they don't care that much. Which
Yeah,
no judgment.
projection. It's true.
It's just it's a reflection.
But
So
can I add something? Because I think it's important as also to say, because we're talking about the dark night of the soul, and sometimes it can sound like it's not hard, but it's shitty hard. And what I figured out here the other day was I was talking with my mentor, and I usually put, as I said, a story to my feelings, but I was just recognizing, and I said to her, I feel so much grief in my heart. I'm so incredible sad. I don't know why. It's body experiment or experience. It's a soul experience. It's a thought experience. I feel it everywhere, and I don't have a story to it. I just feel it, and I think it was so beautiful to experience myself not having a story to it, but just recognize that this time also come with grief. This time come with sorrow. This time come with anger, and it's so okay just saying it out loud without starting to the whole dynamic or the whole story around it, but just say, I feel so much grief. It's so relieving to just recognize that. So I just want to recognize that this is a hard time to be alive too. It's not, I mean, we are in the Iron Age. It's like, it's hell. We are living in hell right now. So people out there, I feel with you if you have the dark night of the soul too, but just know that it's so necessary for you in order to experience something really beautiful at a moment of time, not maybe in this life, but in another life.
yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. This is it's so necessary, and
Yeah.
yes, we're living hell right now for sure.
Yeah, it is hell. It's pure hell.
That's why the energies that we're having, yes, they're inflicting this friction,
Yeah.
and there's a cleansing process that we're going to reap the benefits of.
Yeah.
But yeah, just knowing that this is something needed, and we chose to do this too
Yeah.
because we knew exactly. I mean, it's that's why sometimes I hear some people who are into spirituality, and they practice so many things, and they still question, like, why is this happening to me? I would not have chosen this. I said, like, you're saying, from your limited perspective of this illusion of reality, where everything is so dense and so reductionist, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
We have to see things coalesce into a piece of material and body, and a universe, material stuff, and you're judging what's happening to you without taking into account your higher self, your
Yeah.
spirit,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
quantum field of energy. So come on, just have that perspective, and you know that you chose to be here, and this is what you need to go through. Like,
Yeah.
the universe is happening for you. That's
Yeah.
simple as it gets. So
And I mean, if we don't do it, I'm just warning everybody who's like listening now. If we don't do it, we will repeat again. So I mean, go through that hell, and then like it will be okay. But I mean, we will just jump in this period of time again if we don't want to recognize this process and pushing it away. So either way, we just gotta go through it now or in the next life. Doesn't matter. So I really recommend people who's watching now go through that hell, go through that dark night of the soul, and just be with it and know that other people and a lot of people in this world is doing the same thing. And knowing that actually makes me like, knowing that you, for example, Gabriel is doing that is and we did it together, and I know that there's other people who is going through that dark night of the soul, makes me feel a little bit less alone and little bit less suicidal sometimes when I just want to jump out of the bridge. But knowing that people out there is in the same process is beautiful, and maybe that can help a lot of people too.
yeah, sharing your vulnerability, it's a big thing. We don't get
Yeah,
too much, and I'm
yeah,
guilty of that myself. Trust me.
me too.
Yeah. Well, I'm
We're
big on that.
practicing. I think we have been very vulnerable in this episode. I'm
Yeah, I don't mind
sweating
doing it
from
anymore.
this.
I don't mind doing it anymore. I
Wow.
still, where I don't become vulnerable is with like, some, when I go through my stuff, like for me, sharing at the moment is kind of hard still. But
Yeah,
after it, I can talk about it,
yeah,
no problems. But maybe because I kind of shorten, the amount of time that I go through the suffering part of it, because I try
yeah,
to process it as fast as possible. But yeah, my problem is trying to share it at the moment, which is probably
yeah.
when I need it the most, actually. Um, so I don't know. Maybe one day I'll cry here in the podcast. So
You know I'm here next time. Just say, just call.
yeah, I know. All right, so I'm gonna do a shameless plug when we wrap this up, because I am doing a free webinar on the Law of One on Sunday, 3 p.m. So I'm going to drop the link in the comments, because I'm excited to do this webinar. I've never talked about the Law of One on a webinar, so I figure I would do that.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm going to do one in English and one in Spanish, same day on
See,
Sunday.
see,
So
see.
anybody who wants to sign up for that, that's just my link, so I can communicate and send the Zoom link and all that stuff. It's exciting. I'm going to talk about ascension and harvest as it's explained in the Law of One, and also correlated with a couple of other ancient, what do you call it, texts and sacred knowledge that existed in the past from different philosophies and belief systems. So just talk about all that, and have a good time on Sunday, just conversing with people and answering questions and all this stuff. So that's
Beautiful.
what I got. That's what I got for this weekend. I'm excited for that. And
Yeah.
that's all I got for my dark notice. So I actually feel a lot better, just
We need to breathe into that.
yeah.
Everybody, breathe. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Is there anything else in the last chat, or should we just wrap up?
Let's see. I have Dale is here.
Oh, really?
Give me some Dale. He says, when you prevent or hinder the soul from growing, things never work out. And that's it. That's what we were talking about. He also says, well said. The soul grows. Thinking about soul groups. You might be. I know me and you are. Soul groups, soul family. The soul grows, or it repeats until it does grow. Yes,
Yeah.
typically and averagely 1,000-year cycle until an ego subsides and allows the rebirth of the soul, aka awakening. You know what, Del? You're talking about the way you're talking about a different thing within with the cycle. But that's what the harvest is the end of a cycle, and we just passed that point, and we're nearing that harvest, which is ascension, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the Law of One, coincidentally. So yeah,
we're in a lot of cycles ending right now. A lot of cycles ending right now. So it's very interesting time to be alive, and it's also a very interesting time to die.
Yeah. Well, we need to die anyways.
And nobody say die physically. I mean, it's just the time to die, no matter what.
Well, you're dying every day with your ego every time you do some work. So that
you allow it. Yeah, of course. But yeah, he's so right.
Yes. All right.
He's all right.
Love you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here again. Del, Ula, Alua said some nice words for us. With those words, you are already flying, honey. And we were having a beautiful conversation too. Thank you for that. Thank you, Brosis, for this. Yeah. I'm good until next Friday.
Remember, next time you're in the dark night of the soul, just call. I'm here.
I will. Trust me.
Cool. Thank you for everyone for watching. We will be back Friday with some whatever will pop up, impulsive, and enjoy the ride out there, right?
Yes. Keep going. Keep doing the work.
Keep going. Yeah. Keep growing, I will say.
Yes. Much love.
Much love. Ciao.